Do we think we're on? Yeah. Jolly good, well done. Right. Apologies for absence. We have apologies from the town clerk, which is very unusual for him, but basically he's got some committee meeting of town clerks, which he's been trying to persuade everybody for quite a while that it's very, very important that they don't meet on Zoom, they meet in person, and he's then realised that in fact he's made the meeting for the time he's got a town council meeting, so he's a little bit mortified, so he's apologising for not being here. Do we have any other apologies from the councillors?
We have an apology from Councillor Venning.
Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest, you all know this. If there's anything that you think is coming in the agenda that you feel you ought to declare, then please do so now. If there isn't anything, then we'll do it later. Councillor Irvine.
There is something to do with the annex coming up and the venue, the extended licensing is a place where I'm actually having a do later on in the year. So I don't know whether that counts as a declaration of interest or not.
No, I don't think it does.
It doesn't.
So many of us have probably had it and have a meal or
okay,
two.
fine.
So I think you're always wise to say, but I think we can happily discount that. So any other declarations, if you think of them as you're going through? Minutes of the council meeting, the last minutes, the 20th of June. Anything about them, or are you happy to confirm them? Yes, proposed. Councillor Ewing. Somebody second them? Councillor Barry-Smith, thank you. So I'll sign those later. Any matters arising that are not going to be talked about later in the agenda? Okay, that's fine. Public representations and questions. We hadn't had any as of this morning. No, we have no questions from the public. General finance, schedule of payments to consider and endorse the monthly accounts as of the 30th of June. Any comments, observations, or are you happy to consider and endorse? Councillor Hipsey?
I don't want to jump ahead like we did last time, but are we including the budget monitoring report? Or are we doing that separately?
That's the second, that's B.
I'm jumping ahead again.
This is just schedule of payments.
Enthusiasm.
Okay, are we happy to endorse those? Yes, somebody speak? Yes, good. Budget monitoring report, consider and endorse the phased budget monitoring reports. Again, any thoughts, Councillor Hipsey?
Yeah, there's a line on here that I find a little odd. Perhaps somebody can explain it. It might be fairly obvious and I'm being stupid. But line 4078, we have an item the heading of localism. It would appear that last year we spent £147. Well, first of all, it would be interesting to know what that is. We spent £147 last year. This year we're down to £19,000.
Right. Let Councillor Mann will explain it to you.
Sorry, Councillor.
Sorry, I should be doing that as well.
This particular line item is really important to me because it's actually part of where the budget for the neighbourhood plan comes from. And it gets moved from one budget to the other as it gets spent. And that's why, bizarrely, it starts off with a huge budget here, and if you look at my neighbourhood budget, my neighbourhood plan budget, it says that it's overspent by like £1 bazillion.
Okay.
And that happens throughout the entire year, and it used to drive me incredibly crazy. But basically, it's a holding pen for money that is for local projects. At the moment, the neighbourhood plan is the major user of that fund. I think some of our grants also come from the localism fund. So when the grant committee gives grants out, then I don't know how it gets some of the grants actually. But that's why it doesn't reflect an actual spend in that particular line item.
So it's not a slush fund, it's just a convenient place for, what do they used to say, the money is resting in my account.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are we happy to endorse those? Yes, okay, thank you. Budget and Policy Committee. Councillor Ward, who's the chairman, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I rise to present the minutes of the Budget and Policy Committee that was held on the 12th of July. As I go through these minutes, you'll find that much of it, particularly in the earlier part of the meeting, was of a rather sort of formality, box-ticking nature, and hopefully you won't find anything too controversial there. So going through, 91 apologies for absence, 92 confirmation of minutes, 93 declarations of interest, 94 internal audit services, and this was basically confirming the arrangements for internal audit services for the council over the coming year, and a recommendation falls from that. Recommended that the recommendation as set out in paragraph 3.2 of the report be endorsed and adopted.
Okay. Any discussion? Councillor Hipsey?
Can I just draw your attention to paragraph 101, subparagraph C, Charlie? The second paragraph there appears to be suggesting that there's been a problem obtaining information from Devon County Council about that particular item. I was wondering if that's something that was likely to have been forthcoming at the meeting that was cancelled.
I'm very sorry, Councillor Hipsey, you're looking at...
I think you're skipping ahead.
Oh, I'm doing
Is
it
that
again.
part 2?
Sorry, yeah, I'm doing it again.
Sorry.
I apologise.
Councillor Ewings?
Councillor Hipsey,
Yes,
you need to stand when you wish to speak,
so I do.
please.
Yes, and switch this on. Thank you very much.
Yes, that has been mentioned, so let's, it is in standing orders, so basically let's do it please, so we stand when we speak. Okay, so can we accept that recommendation? Do we have a proposer? Seconder? Okay, carried. Bank signatories?
Okay, 95, a bank signatories mandate. So this was a requirement to name and have approved people who can sign cheques on behalf of the council, and that changes from time to time as councillors come and go. It's recommended that the recommendations set out in paragraphs 2.1 and 2.2 of the report be endorsed and adopted.
Okay, carried. Yes. All in favour? Right, thank you.
Item 96, Merchant Services Bank Account. This again is a technicality which has arisen as a result of the local branch closing and having to put in other places to move money around from one account to another. There is a recommendation that the recommendation as set out in paragraph 2.2 of the report be endorsed and adopted.
Any proposals, thoughts? Those in favour? Carried. Thank you.
97 Insurance Services. I think members are aware that Council has had to rearrange its various insurance policies, and at the time that was done, there was no specific policy brought out, there wasn't really one available, to provide cyber insurance, so problems arising from cybercrime. There now is suitable insurance for our sector, which the clerk has looked at, and from this follows a recommendation that Council adopt, wait for it, option C 4X6F062539 in the sum of £2,000 and 32 pence per annum, that figure being the premium. There's then a note which I think...
No, we need the to talk, so
Okay.
I think just ask.
In relation to the minute, which is related to the noted that, there needs to be a deletion of cyber security on that paragraph. And the recommendation which follows needs to read, recommended that all members of the council be reminded of their obligations to attend mandatory training and make the necessary arrangements to be in attendance at the rearranged Being a Good Councillor training event, deleting the word cyber security.
Okay, so we've got the first recommendation about insurance, haven't we? So can we talk about the recommendation about insurance for cyber insurance? Has everybody in favour of that, please? Joe? Carried, thank you. And then the recommended that Wayne has just said, which is about basically that we should all go to the Good Councillor event. Are we in favour of that? Do you want to talk, Councillor Mann?
I just wanted to confirm that that date was the 31st of October, is that right? Yeah.
Okay, all in favour of that? Please show. Okay, carried, thank you.
Item 98, Devon Association of Local Councils Annual General Meeting and Conference. For new members, this conference usually takes place every year. I think there were some hiccups with COVID, but the next one is due on the 27th of September to be held at Exeter Racecourse during the day. And we discussed who might go to it, and a recommendation has fallen out of that. But just before I read the recommendation out, the proposal is that Council would meet members' charge for attending the conference on the basis that we do what we can to limit the costs, for example, by car sharing. So the recommendation is that Tavistock Town Council, at its meeting on the 25th of July 2023, invite expressions of interest from councillors to attend the DALC conference and authorise attendance on the basis outlined above.
Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was the one that brought this to the council because I was lucky enough to go last year, and I wanted to just make a plea for people to think about it who are new, especially. Because I wanted to just repeat what I did on the report from that last year and why I think it's a really great opportunity. The topics that were deemed highest priority at the meeting were, and this is across, these are, if you don't know what it is, it's the Devon Association of Local Councils, so it's all small town and parish councils and larger councils like ourselves, Barnstaple, all of them, meeting together with councillor representatives as well as officers. There are Devon County Council representatives there. There are people that are councillors as well as people from within organisations. So it's a really big networking event. Last year, the topics that were deemed highest priority were the Platinum Jubilee, neighbourhood plan development, engaging on highways matters, followed by recreation and entertainment. I mean, these are things that are obviously affecting our town all the time, and obviously they're really important right now on our own agenda. So I think there are things that we want to be talking about with others to see what other solutions are out there. And last year we had Phil Adams from Devon County Council who spoke regarding devolution, and he was there was a lot of information about where devolution was taking us, how it would affect Point Zero, about local regeneration, and how to maximize people premiums to raise the aspirations of young people, which I know is also a priority for our council that was mentioned several times. We also have a speaker, Stephen Walford, who was the Chief Exec for Mid-Devon, and he's the lead for the Devon Housing Task Force, or he was at the time, I don't know if he still is. But he was talking about providing local homes for local people under community land trust, which is relevant to the neighbourhood plan. And he also presented an amazing slideshow about why we're in the mess we are as a whole country. So it was like the entire history of housing problems in England, which was really good. Our third speaker was Dr. Sarah Wollaston, who was from One Devon, the One Devon Partnership, which was a new committee that includes a range of organizations to influence people's health, well-being, and care. So if that's what you're into, you could have listened to that talk. These were the major talks, but there were workshops, and there were 4 workshops per breakout session, which meant I could only attend 2. Barnstaple had about 4 or 5 representatives there, so they were getting obviously a lot more out of it for their council. And it also meant that they all had that information when they came back, so you can share that. So obviously this is all last year's information. I went to a workshop. The workshops I chose were planning and affordable housing, and workshop on cost of living crisis, which obviously seemed quite relevant at the time. And I learned some things there, including grant applications and things like that. So if you have any interest at all, I think it's really worth going. I got to meet a lot of young councillors, people with different attitudes, people who come from a different council background. I just think it's a really great opportunity. So that's my sales pitch, and I hope that many people will join me this year there.
Right. Is anybody interested in going? Do you want to take a list?
Well, can I just say, if you are interested, can you email me to let me know?
I think we need to do it because it's a recommendation that they put themselves forward tonight.
Yeah. I think we better write them down. I put mine.
Show of hands.
Yeah, show of hands then, please. Those who would like to go. Don't say you're going to go if you don't intend to go. But.
Gosh, is that brilliant?
Easy to ask you, doesn't it?
Who doesn't want to go? Councillor Munro, Councillor Allen, Councillor Hipsey.
Perhaps we could ask members to confirm that to Jen.
Have you got a question? Sorry, Councillor Squires.
I have. Can I confirm that the, I think it's called...
Can you stand up, please, Councillor
Can I
Squires?
confirm that being a good councillor training is on the evening of the 31st of October, is that right?
Yes.
I am correct, am I? That's
Obviously, more details will come out in due course.
Thank you very much.
Right, so can we just get people to confirm in the next day or two to Jan, please, that you do want to come to this? All right, we've got names tonight, but just confirm an email, please, it might be sensible. Right, do you want to do a recommendation, please?
Yes, okay. So shall I read out the recommendation again, which we've now just fulfilled, actually?
So we just vote on it. Those in favour of the recommendation? Carried, thank you. Right.
Righto, so urgent business, item 99, short-term licence. This relates to using the old training facility, which looks like a separate house down at the Molly Owen Centre, as a short-term repository for short-dated foodstuffs, which can then be distributed on a Saturday morning from the Red and Black Club. And this has come about as a result of changed arrangements. You may remember that we had the Tavistock food box scheme operating from the Red and Black Club, but the source of the food that was being distributed from there, shall we say, has dried up. And alternative arrangements are being made, have reached a very advanced stage now of organisation. But they need somewhere short-term where food can be stored. We're not talking about perishable food, we're basically talking about dry goods. And it's been agreed to issue a licence to allow that organisation to use the old training facility down at just one room, I think, in the old training facility down at the Molly Owen Centre. I don't think any action is required, it's just for you to be aware of that. That completes the items we took in part one, and we'll pick up the agenda again in part two.
Okay, thank you very much. Development, Management and Licensing Committee, Councillor Barry Smith, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I rise to present the minutes of the Development Management and Licensing Committee held on the 4th of July. 81, apologies for absence. Confirmation of minutes, 82. 83, declaration of interest. 84, Dartmoor National Park Authority, no items received. 85, town planning issues. 86, general correspondence. 87, neighbourhood development planning. 88, urgent business brought forward at the discretion of the chairman. 89, planning decisions and applications. And number 90, which was next minute, that's the end. It's recommended that the views of the town council listed under Appendix B be passed to the local planning authority for consideration.
Thank you. Any comments on those minutes, or will somebody propose them?
Move the minutes.
Yes, seconding? Yes, all in favour? Okay, passed, thank you.
Following on from that, it's the minutes of the meeting, the M&L held last night, 24th of July. 107, apologies for absence. 108, confirmation of minutes. 109, declaration of interest. 110 is the Dartmoor National Park. 111, town planning issues. 112, licensing matters. 113, general correspondence. 114.
Sorry, Councillor Mann.
Yeah, I understand that Councillor Mann would like to...
Can I just say there's a recommendation at 111?
What's the object? Yeah.
That's about the names.
Right, okay. 111. Yes, apologies. 111, I'm rattling through this where I marked it up. The street names and numbering application, this is for the development on the Plymouth Road, which is by the estates down there, Baker Estates, and they've sent through a list of proposed names, one which is required by the post office and also by the councils to make sure that the names match. And the recommendation is that we reject the names of Orchard Rise and Mulberry Close to avoid duplication, due to similar named roads already being in Tavistock, i.e. Orchard Close and Mulberry Grove, except all the other proposed names, of which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we suggested to them that we would request that the planting in the areas would reflect the names chosen, which if you look down is Orchard Rise, Pear Tree Way, Mulberry Close, all fruited trees, so we've asked them to put in planting that would reflect the areas on that side. And you wish to, on neighbourhood development planning, Councillor Mayor?
Should we do our recommendation? Let's do our recommendation first. Proposer, please.
Everybody?
Yes, everybody, all in favour? Carried, thank you.
Are you going to say? Yeah, okay, I'll pass over to Councillor Mann, who has something to
So this is just on the minute 114, which is the neighbourhood development plan. Under A, I just wanted to let everyone know that locality has opened up their grants again as of today. And so I've already made the grant application for the funding that we had previously already agreed. So I'm hoping that that will be a successful application and we'll be back onto the grant funding. So that was the big change. That said, I know there's no recommendation here. I just want to bring to members' attention that there was a small change, which was £500 that the steering group had agreed to fund a housing stories project to bolster the evidence that we have around our housing need. So I just wanted to point that out. And then on B, this is coming under the neighbourhood development plan, but it really isn't sort of a neighbourhood development plan only topic, and that's why it was raised separately, because the cycling and walking infrastructure plan that's being worked on is going to allocate money and project money to small projects that are easy wins to improve local cycling and walking anywhere. It can be anywhere in West Devon. And this meeting that we're having, or we've been offered, is with the consultants, so not with council staff, but with consultants who are going out and trying to find out what projects might be on the table. This could be something like, for instance, highlighting Butcher Park Hill or another location like that, where we have a problem that we've identified with the walking structure, and saying, hey, this is a problem for our local residents. I think all of you will have something in your own local neighbourhood where you might have I have a path on the way down to school where I regularly take pictures of trucks jumping the curb because of the narrowness of the road, and I find it really, really dangerous because it's a school route, and I find it really upsetting to see, and I want to raise that because it would be a potential solution just to put bars in there so that you can't jump that curb after the 4th Street roundabout, essentially. So you may have similar issues that I won't be aware of necessarily, depending on where you're representing and what you walk and what your area is. So the more people that show up to the meeting and bring those issues, the more we can present, and then potentially, if they do have funding, perhaps we would be the recipients of that. So I just wanted to say that if you haven't got this link and you would like to attend the meeting, or if you have issues that you can't attend the meeting, can you send them to me or to somebody else, or say, I'd like to have the link to join the meeting. Because we only have an hour with them, I'd like it to be that you're prepared, and it's not a question and answer session, it's a, here are the issues that we've identified. She sent in the email sort of what they're looking for. But it is an opportunity for us as a council, and as councillors, local councillors, especially for small things that could be big wins for our community.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Councillor Smith, please.
Thank you, Councillor. 115, urgent business brought forward at the discretion of the chairman, none were available. 116, planning decisions. Little A, planning decisions taken by West Devon Borough Council. And B, recommendation is that the views of the town councillors listed on Appendix B be passed to the local planning authority for consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. So, are we happy with the recommendation? All show, please. That's passed. Thank you very much.
117, next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, co-option. This is a little embarrassing. Two people have applied to be co-opted onto our council. Unfortunately, nobody remembered to invite them here tonight, which is why they're not here. So you may have read their CVs, their application, and we expected to see them and get two more, hopefully, council members, but they haven't been invited, so that is not to their detriment in any way. So we've had a thought about what we should do, and we think we should see them before we appoint anybody as a co-opted councillor. It would be wrong to not meet them and say hello and listen to if they want to say anything. So what we thought, we were discussing it before the meeting, is councillors' agreement. We postpone this till the next council meeting, which is beginning of September, and we make sure that this time we invite them properly and hope they turn up. Any comments, thoughts, Councillor Squire?
Are they the only applicant?
Yes, we have two applicants. Councillor Hipsey?
There are currently two. Does the plan you're putting forward open the way for more? In which case, is that a problem?
No, it won't.
Fine. Thank you very much.
No. Okay, so are we, as a council, are we happy that's the way we should go forward, or has people got other views? Councillor Moody? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay, so that's what we'll do then, okay? We'll see them at the next council meeting. Thank you very much. So, service reports, to receive information following service reports. General Manager's report. You've all got that, but hopefully there'll be an oral update. Is there an oral update, General Manager?
Yeah, nobody's got a report because I never wrote one. In relation to my oral update, I'll just cover off the three main capital projects. Town Hall is currently work in progress to programme at this stage. The whole of the front elevation has been raked out. Agreement has been reached with the Conservation Officer around
I was just putting my hand up to ask a question when you got to the end of the town hall bit. I was getting ready.
The whole of the front of the town hall has been raked out. Agreement has been reached in principle with the Conservation Officer around type and style of pointing and methodology in relation to that. All the scaffolding has been erected for the whole of the actual project. We are going to put up some additional scaffolding to the right of the town hall to actually address some cornice works on the museum as well. We're going to take the opportunity while we've got the scaffolders on site and the contractors on site to deal with that as a separate project as well with the principal contractor. In-house, starting tomorrow, we are looking at actually undertaking refurbishment works to the windows as well as an addition to the contract, which sits outside of the actual main scope of works, but we're taking advantage of having the scaffolding there to actually deliver that work in-house. We should be starting next week, hopefully back end of next week, roofing works to the Mayor's Parlour, and we should be starting hopefully back end of next week actual repointing works to the actual front elevation itself. There has been some remeasurement works as well with regards to the plaster repairs, and we have reduced the amount of plaster repairs that are required on the actual front elevation. Basically, once we've taken the old plaster repairs off, the actual old Herdwick stone is in a good enough condition where it isn't going to hold moisture, just with a bit of denibbing to actually keep the actual existing Herdwick stone in place, rather than putting a fake plastic repair on. So the less we can do on that, the better aesthetically for the building. any questions on the town hall?
Councillor Ewing.
Thank you. As you come down Plymouth Road and you look at the town hall, sorry, I'm not going to face, that's just me. You've got the town hall in front of you, and there's two alcoves at the top. There's like louvres on them, but you can see the wood's not great. The scaffolding doesn't go up that far. Are we doing that bit? Because if we're doing all the rest of it, why are we going to leave a bit of peeling paint and what have you? I know it's up high.
Yeah, sure. We are going to do the lion's share of what we can actually do in relation to the timber repairs and redecoration work. Some of the louvres we might be able to attack internally to take the louvres out and redecorate them and then refit them. I think the difficulty we've got with actually scaffolding the whole of the building, we've had to be selective with what we can actually do. So we've actually not scaffolded the main tower either. Where if you went for a Rolls-Royce job, you'd actually rake out and repoint the whole of the town hall. Equally, there's elements on the side elevation where we're purely rubbing down the pointing as opposed to raking out to get rid of some of the loose. It's a bit of a balancing act with the budget we've got. So if we can achieve it, absolutely we will.
May I ask a technical term definition, please? Denibbing?
Basically just brushing down the loose stone.
Is that it?
Yeah, the friable stone. So.
Okay, thank you. Right, you want to do that was the first project.
That was the first one.
Move on to the museum now. Again, that project it's about a week and a half behind, but actually the plan was to complete by the end of August, early September. And realistically, we wanted all three projects to finish by the end of September, so we had a 3 to 4 week contingency on that one anyhow. The good news is, after a number of complications in relation to drilling to get the piling in place, we managed to get the piles stable and secure. All the temporary scaffolding in place, and I'm pleased to report that the most complicated element in relation to removing the old rotten timber beam and putting the new steel one in has been achieved. Next week we are taking down the temporary works, and we are having a site meeting on Wednesday where we will agree what is required in relation to making good, rebuilding the wall that was demolished, redecoration works, and also what additional timber repairs are needed to the flooring, to the joists. But we are looking now at about 3 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe if I give a week's contingency, 4 weeks to completion. So it will bleed into the first week of August, July, August, first week of September. I'm a month out. But that's all positive with where we're at on that project and to budget. The last project, Market Road retaining wall, never was going to be a simple project. I think if you refer to the minutes which haven't been addressed yet on budget and policy, you had quite a good positive briefing in relation to minute 105. In relation to that positive briefing, as Councillor Ewing just said, then it rained, and the cofferdam itself failed as it's designed to fail in those kind of conditions. But what that requires or means is you then spend a week rebuilding and refixing all the sheeting to the outside of the cofferdam. So there's a week's worth of refixing all the sheeting, and then lo and behold on Saturday it poured down again and failed even worse. So there is, today has been a day of recovering the sandbags, which ended up down towards Abbey Bridge. And subject to the weather forecast, where Wednesday night was looking a bit dodgy, they will then start rebuilding. At the point that they have managed to get the firm seal again on the cofferdam, there is literally probably about 3 days hitting it hard with additional labour of below water works to actually deal with the core of shuttering in, blocking in the 4 main underwater voids. At the point that's achieved and the lower half a metre of pointing, the pumps can then be off-hired and the remainder of the works can be undertaken with the cofferdam in place, but the water level at, about a metre within the cofferdam. So we literally need that window of probably about 10 days to complete the below water works where we need a dry period. We have got, clear contingency time-wise because we've still got 2 months on this contract. So I'm comfortable we can achieve it time-wise. It's just a cost because we've had to hire in 2 pumps for this contract. And to give you a rough order of cost, that's £3,000 per week just purely for the hire of those pumps, irrespective of fuel costs, etc. So the sooner we can off-hire the pumps, the sooner we can get that element of the works done, the better for the contract to manage the costs. But we know we can do it now. We know we can actually get a seal on the cofferdam, and it's just finding that dry spell, which hopefully will happen over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Any questions?
Good, thank you very much. There's obviously a lot going on at present, isn't there? But it's basically it's positive. It's going forward in the right direction, isn't it? So well done. Pannier Market report enclosed. This one is enclosed because it's there. Any more questions for the General Manager? No? Okay, let's go on to the Works Department report. Any questions on that? Right. Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a thank you, really, for the work that was carried out by the Works Manager and the Works team up at the rear of Abbotsford Hall on an area of open space. They were very responsive to a resident's concerns about it and acted with great speed, and I understand it's now part of their weekly inspection. So thank you very much to the team there. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Councillor Mann?
I should say thank you for all the benches as well, because I think I sent more emails about benches to the Works Department in the last couple of months than ever, and they've done a really great job fixing them, especially the ones outside Continental Fruits. The other thing I did notice is that the football stuff is up again on the down, because I was out there looking for bats, and I was like, there's the football.
Is it as smaller than normal football goal?
You wasn't meant to bring that up, Councillor Hutton.
I thought maybe I'd shrunk.
They are slightly smaller than normal size, but equally the pitch is slightly smaller.
I was looking at it with the dog and thinking,
Are they level now?
I know it's a delight to see them. Town Hall and Butchers Hall report.
Sorry. I think we should, and if anybody gets the opportunity, to go and see the new bridge that has been built in-house up at Bannerwell, that it is absolutely terrific.
Right, thank you. Councillor Hipsey?
Oh, sorry, I thought that was a request to go and see it, but I can confirm that. Saw it this morning. Really good job.
Let's pass that back to the Works Department. That's great. Right, Town Hall and Butchers Hall report. Okay, nothing on that. Thank you very much. Right, finance and other matters. Report of the Assistant to the Town Clerk. Anything you want to add at this stage? Thank you. Anything you want to add?
Just at the recruitment of the Administrative and Democratic Sport Officer, just to let you know that a lady called Dee O'Donoghue joined us last Friday, and that is on a permanent basis, so I'm sure you'll all get to meet her at some stage.
Good. Okay. Notes of the Goose Fair Consultative Group meeting. Enclosed, any questions on that? Any observations? Okay, West Devon Borough Council report from Mrs Johnson. That really was very good, Anne. Thank you very much for that. I think we all found it very, very informative. Any questions anybody wants to ask Councillor Johnson? Okay, thank you. Any updates from or questions to council representatives serving on other outside bodies in connection with the work of those bodies? Yes, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Unusually, two of the groups that I represent on the Town Council always have their meetings on the same day, which makes for a busy day. The first one I went to was Oakhampton Rail. They are working hard on the Oakhampton Parkway design, and to get that up and running it will take a lot of time, it will take a lot of money, but things are moving on in that right direction. They still maintain as one of their priorities is the re-establishment of the Tavistock to Plymouth line, so they are very keen that that happens, and then the eventual joining up of Tavistock to Oakhampton. I understand that Bridget Meldon is good and sound, and apparently the trains that the steam trains that used to go over it were much heavier than today's trains, so that's good news as far as that's concerned. They did say they were going to make a representation about the closing of ticket offices, and there's been a lot of publicity in the press about that, and the difficulties it will give to lots of people who want to travel on the trains, and it will probably exclude people from using the railways, which is a great shame. The second meeting I went to that day was for Kingdom House, the print works. The bookings are the highest that we've ever known. The monthly income from bookings is incredibly high. We've got a really first-class building there now, thanks to the money that we had for the improvements to the exterior of the building. We've taken great care of it. The period during COVID where we managed to get a lot of work done, and the £10,000 grant helped greatly. We're looking at now the next 50 years. I think Kingdom House was opened in the 1970s. It used to be the Tavistock Gazette Times. Gazette, thank you, that's fine. Printing works, where the weekly paper was printed. I went there probably about 1966 on a school visit, and the smell of the prints still remains with me. So we're looking forward now to the next 50 years. So we're going to have some trustee meetings to work out what we're going to do now to celebrate the 50 years and to move forward so that the building's fit for purpose for the next 50 years. So it's a good news story from there.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay, feedback from members following their attendance at any training sessions.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Mann.
I don't know if I can put this here. It's not really, I'm not appointed as a town councillor, but there are two things that have come to me as a town councillor that I thought everybody should be aware of. One of which is, if you didn't notice in the paper, there's been an advertisement for what is called the Nicholas Watts charity. It was in last week's paper, and it is a charity that is Tavistock specific and gives funding for young men to be educated. So that's how old that charity is. It could be gender biased. And they are offering scholarships to university. So it's quite a big deal, and it's only for people who are from Tavistock. So if you know of a student who might struggle to afford further education after college, then it would be worth paying attention to that one. And I just wanted to bring it to people's attention because I think it's kind of an undersold charity. I think their income is what they use, and their income in the last couple of years has been about 21,000. So it's a lot of money. So I just thought we should all be aware if you know of anybody. And the other one is something that came to me from Devon Communities Together, who I think you might remember we worked with at the initial stage of the neighbourhood plan, and they are doing some work with NHS Devon. So I know there's been a lot of talk recently about healthcare and access within the rural community to healthcare. They are doing a project which is about raising that issue to NHS leaders, and they are looking for people who are seeking to having extra challenges in accessing GPs, hospital appointments, specialist care, or community-based support in day-to-day life. And she's given me an email address or a phone number to arrange to spare half an hour for that person to be interviewed, to give their thoughts to Dublin Communities Together to then be presented to NHS. So I thought that was worth mentioning, so if anybody would like me to forward that email to them, I will, and share it obviously widely, because I think there's a lot of people who have struggled since COVID in getting the kind of care that they need in our community, especially if they're rural. So I just wanted to bring that to people's attention.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Can I ask Councillor Matt, does that include NHS dentists? Because I think there's a massive issue with that. I think there are going to be generations of people who will not have any dental care. It costs a huge amount of money to go private, and I think it's beyond the means of many people, which is a great shame.
It doesn't specifically say dentists, but I think we should definitely say that that's included. I mean, they are specialists, and we do have specialist dentistry within the town that is NHS, so I think it would be worth mentioning.
Okay, thank you. Good. There are no communications or reports that I want to submit or urgent matters. To part two, thank you. Right, we turn off the